When magic died, the world learned to dream again. The wind carried a silence that felt unnatural. Once, it would have whispered with the voices of enchantment, songs from rivers, laughter from trees, and hums from the stones beneath the earth. But now there was nothing. The world had grown still, too still. In the valley of Elaren, people no longer looked to the stars for guidance. They no longer waited for miracles. Magic had left them, and in its absence, something heavy filled the air, something like grief. Mira stood at the edge of a dried lake, staring into the cracked earth where once silver water used to dance. Her reflection, faint and fragmented, flickered between the cracks. She was young, only 17, but her eyes carried the weight of centuries. Once, her family had been keepers of the Dreamlight, a rare gift that allowed them to weave dreams into reality. Her mother could turn lullabies into soft starlight that healed. Her father could whisper courage into the hearts of soldiers. But all of that ended the day the great silence fell. It was said that the heart of the world, the core of all magic, had shattered. The skies dimmed, the oceans calmed, and the creatures of wonder disappeared. Even dragons, who once ruled the dawn skies, turned into stone statues that still dotted the far hills. Mira often came to the lake to remember. Her mother used to say, "Where magic sleeps, dreams begin." But Mira didn't understand it. How could dreams replace something so powerful, so real? That morning, as the mist curled around the valley, a faint hum brushed against her thoughts, something she hadn't felt in years. It wasn't magic. It was something gentler, softer, almost human. She turned sharply. "Who's there?" From behind a fallen pillar, a boy emerged. He was about her age, with dark, curious eyes and clothes covered in dust. He smiled nervously. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said. I thought no one came here anymore." Mira studied him. "No one does. Not since the lake died." The boy looked out at the empty basin. "It's strange," he murmured. "I remember when it glowed. My father told me stories about it." "You're not from Elaren," Mira said flatly. "No," he admitted. "I'm from the northern plains. Name's Elaren." Mira nodded cautiously. "Why are you here?" Elaren hesitated before answering. "Because I think magic isn't gone." "Not really. I think it's sleeping." Mira laughed bitterly. "That's what all the wanderers say. You're chasing ghosts." But Elaren didn't seem offended. Instead, he knelt and touched the cracked earth. "Maybe," he said softly, "but if ghosts are all that's left, maybe they can still teach us something." Mira's expression softened, curiosity replacing doubt. "You really believe that?" He looked up, smiling faintly. "I have to. My sister used to dream, real dreams, the kind that felt alive. She said she saw colors that didn't exist, places that weren't real. But the day magic died, she stopped dreaming altogether. She hasn't spoken since." For a moment, neither said anything. The valley wind whispered through the dry reeds. Mira felt something stir within her. Pity, maybe hope, or the faint echo of something long buried. She finally spoke. "Dreams," she said quietly, "they used to be part of magic. But when the heart broke, people stopped dreaming because they stopped believing. If you're right, maybe that's where the answer is." Elren's eyes brightened. "Then maybe you'll help me?" Mira looked toward the horizon. The faint light of dawn brushed against the dead hills. "Help you do what?" "To find the last piece of the heart," he said simply. Mira turned sharply. "That's impossible." The heart shattered into 7 shards and scattered across the world. No one even knows if they still exist. But someone once said, Elaren whispered, that one of the shards fell into the valley of Elaren. Mira's heart skipped a beat. "Who told you that?" "A dream," Elaren said quietly. "A dream that felt real." That night, Mira couldn't sleep. The stars above looked dull, their shine faint, as if even they mourned. But her mind kept returning to Elren's words. A dream that felt real. Her mother's voice echoed faintly in her memory. "Where magic sleeps, dreams begin." She rose from her bed, wrapped herself in a faded cloak, and stepped out into the moonlight. Elaren was sitting near a broken column, sketching something in the dirt with a stick. "You're still here?" she asked. He nodded. "Couldn't sleep either." "What are you drawing?" He moved aside so she could see. It was a circular pattern, almost like a seal. In the center was an eye-shaped mark surrounded by 7 rays. "I saw this in my dream," Elaren said. "When I woke up, I just remembered it." Mira's breath caught. She recognized the symbol. It was the mark of the Dreamkeepers, her family's ancient sigil. "This," she whispered, "this belonged to my mother." It was said to appear only to those who still carried a spark of the old Dreamlight. Elaren looked at her with wide eyes. "Then maybe you're the key." "The key to what?" "To waking the world again." Mira shook her head. "I'm not special. I can't even light a candle with my will. The gift died with my parents." But Elren's voice was steady. "No, it didn't. Maybe it changed. Maybe magic didn't die. Maybe it turned into something else. Something inside us." She frowned, uncertain. "Dreams?" "Yes," he said softly. "Dreams." As the night deepened, they sat together, staring at the silent hills. For the first time in years, Mira felt something stir in her. Not the return of magic, but a faint warmth, a fragile hope. And when she finally drifted into sleep, she dreamed, not of loss or silence, but of light. In her dream, a vast forest of glass trees shimmered under a silver sky. Rivers of color flowed through the roots, and at the heart of it all stood a glowing fragment, a shard of the heart. When she awoke, dawn had broken. "Elaren," she whispered, shaking him awake. "I saw it. I saw where we need to go." Elaren blinked sleepily. "Where?" She pointed toward the mountains beyond the valley. "The forest of mirrors. That's where the first shard sleeps." Elaren smiled faintly, his eyes full of wonder. "Then our journey begins." Mira nodded, feeling the morning wind rise once more. For the first time, it didn't feel empty. It felt like the world itself was holding its breath, waiting. The morning mist rolled over the valley as Mira and Elaren prepared to leave. The air was cold, and the silence of Elaren seemed heavier than ever, as if the land itself feared to hope again. Mira packed only what she needed, a small flask of water, dried fruit, and a worn leather book that once belonged to her mother. Its pages were filled with half-faded notes about dreams, sigils, and the nature of the heart. Elaren carried a compass that no longer pointed north, but flickered with a strange, uncertain light whenever he dreamed. "Are you sure about this?" Mira asked, tightening the straps on her bag. "The forest of mirrors, no one who enters ever comes back." Elaren looked toward the distant mountains, their peaks lost in fog. "Maybe that's because they were looking for magic," he said softly. "We're not. We're looking for dreams." Mira frowned. "You speak as if they're the same thing." "Maybe they always were," he replied, smiling faintly. They left the ruins of Elaren just as the first sunbeams touched the broken stones. The path to the forest of mirrors was long and winding, cutting through empty fields where the grass grew dull and gray. Once, these lands had shimmered with color, flowers that glowed, rivers that sang, but now they were quiet, hollow echoes of what had been. Along the road, they found the remains of ancient carvings on the rocks, symbols of the old world. Mira traced one with her fingertips, feeling the faint hum beneath her skin. "My mother said these stones remember," she murmured. "Even when we forget, the world keeps our stories." Elaren paused beside her. "Then maybe the world is dreaming, too, waiting for someone to wake it." She looked at him, surprised by his words. "You really believe that?" He nodded. "I have to. It's the only way I can keep hoping." By noon, the road led them to the edge of a dry riverbed. The sun beat harshly on the cracked earth. Elaren crouched down, running his fingers along a smooth groove in the rock. "Look," he said. "Water once flowed here." "Long ago," Mira replied. "Before the silence." Elaren looked up. "Do you ever wonder what caused it?" "The end of magic." Mira hesitated before answering. "There are stories. Some say the gods grew tired of us. Others say humanity began taking without giving, and the heart cracked under the weight of our greed. My mother, she believed something else. What? That the heart didn't break. It was given away, willingly. Elaren frowned. Given away? Why? Mira's gaze turned distant. To teach us how to dream again. By evening, they reached the outskirts of the Forest of Mirrors. The air grew colder, and the trees ahead shimmered faintly in the twilight. Their bark was smooth and glass-like, reflecting light in strange, twisting ways. Every movement, every sound, echoed softly through the forest as if the air itself were alive. "This is it," Mira whispered. "The Forest of Mirrors." Elaren took a deep breath. "It's beautiful and terrifying." As they stepped inside, their reflections followed them, hundreds of ghostly versions shimmering in the glassy trunks. The forest seemed endless, folding in on itself. Every few steps, Mira caught glimpses of strange things, a child laughing, a woman crying, a dragon soaring, all reflections, all illusions. "It's showing us memories," she said quietly, "echoes of the world before the silence." Elaren nodded. "But why?" "Maybe to remind us what was lost." Hours passed, and the forest grew darker. Their path twisted endlessly, looping back upon itself. The compass Elaren carried spun wildly, its glow flickering. "We're walking in circles," he said in frustration. "Everything looks the same." Mira closed her eyes, trying to remember her dream. The silver trees, the glowing shard. She whispered softly, "Where magic sleeps, dreams begin." Suddenly, a faint hum filled the air. The trees began to shimmer with pale blue light, and the reflections shifted. Instead of showing the past, they began showing possibilities. The same forest, but alive, filled with light and color. "Do you see that?" Elaren breathed. Mira nodded slowly. "I think the forest responds to dreams, not to magic." Elren's voice trembled. "Then dream, Mira. Dream us a way through." She hesitated, her heart pounding. She hadn't tried to dream since she was a child. But now, with her eyes closed, she let her thoughts drift, to laughter, to hope, to her mother's face. She dreamed of light returning, of the trees singing again. When she opened her eyes, a narrow path glowed faintly between the trees. "It worked," Elaren whispered. "You did it." Mira smiled weakly. "I didn't do anything." The world remembered. They followed the glowing path until it led them into a clearing. At the center stood a pool of still water, the only true reflection in the forest. The air was thick with silence, but underneath it pulsed something faint, a heartbeat. "This must be it," Mira said, stepping closer. Elaren knelt by the pool and reached out, his hand trembling. "It feels alive." Suddenly, the water rippled, and their reflections vanished. In their place appeared a woman made of light. Her voice was soft but clear. "You seek the heart," she said. "But the heart does not belong to those who have forgotten how to dream." Mira stepped forward. "We haven't forgotten. We're here to remember." The woman studied her. "Then answer this. What is the difference between magic and a dream?" Mira hesitated. "Magic makes things happen. Dreams make things possible." The woman's eyes glowed brighter. "Then tell me, child of Dreamlight, which one do you truly seek?" Mira's voice trembled. "I seek neither. I seek hope." For a moment, the forest went still. Then, the pool began to shine with blinding light. When it faded, a small crystal floated in the air, glowing faintly, like a heartbeat. Elaren stared in awe. The shard. Mira reached out, her fingers brushing its surface. The moment she touched it, warmth flooded through her body. Not power, but peace. The trees shimmered softly, their reflections alive once more. The first shard of the heart had awakened. As the light dimmed, the woman's voice echoed one last time. "1 shard found. 6 remain. But remember, child, the heart will not return through power. It will return through dreams shared." Then the light vanished, leaving only the soft sound of wind through the glass trees. Aaron looked at Mira, his eyes wide with wonder. You did it. We did it. But Mira shook her head slowly.
No.
The world did. They stood in silence for a moment, the shard glowing gently between them. And somewhere deep within the earth, the faint heartbeat of the world began to stir once more. The first light of dawn filtered through the forest of mirrors, soft and golden. The glassy trees reflected it in 1,000 shards, creating a shimmering path behind Mira and Aaron as they stepped out of the forest's edge. The shard of the heart glowed faintly in Mira's hand, warm against her palm, as if it carried its own pulse. For the first time in years, the wind no longer felt cold. There was life in it, faint but present. Aaron glanced back at the forest. Do you think it'll stay like that? Mira followed his gaze. The once dark woods now glimmered faintly, as though they, too, were beginning to dream again. I think it's awake, she said softly. Just like us. They continued walking along a dirt path that led north, toward the distant mountains where ancient ruins were said to rest. The shard pulsed whenever Mira thought of hope or light, but dimmed when fear touched her thoughts. Aaron noticed it. It reacts to you, he said. Like it can feel what you feel. Mira nodded thoughtfully. The heart was never just power. It was emotion, love, sorrow, dreams, and courage. It held the world together because it felt everything. He smiled faintly. Then maybe you're part of it. Mira looked away, uncomfortable.
No.
I'm just someone who remembers. By noon, they reached a wide plain where the air shimmered with heat. The grass grew sparse, and the horizon stretched endlessly. In the far distance, they saw something dark, ruins half buried in sand. That must be the old city of Dareth, Mira said. It used to be the center of all trade and magic. Until the silence, Aaron murmured. They pressed on, and as they approached, the remains of towers and arches came into view. The air felt thick, heavy, as though the world itself was holding its breath. Statues of stone figures lined the road, people frozen mid-step, their faces filled with fear. Mira stopped, her chest tightening. These aren't statues, she whispered. They were people. Aaron ran his hand over one of the stone figures. What happened to them? When the heart shattered, Mira said quietly, those closest to magic became trapped in it. Their bodies turned to stone, but their dreams never stop. Aaron looked uneasy. So they're still alive, in a way. Yes, Mira said, trapped in a dream they can't wake from. They walked through the silent streets until they reached the city's heart, a vast plaza where a broken fountain stood. The water was gone, but strange patterns shimmered faintly on the ground, as if drawn in invisible ink. Aaron crouched down. These markings, they look familiar. Mira knelt beside him. They're old dream sigils. My mother used to draw them when she healed people's minds. Maybe they're a map, Aaron suggested. Before she could answer, the shard in Mira's hand began to flicker rapidly, pulsing like a heartbeat in distress. The air grew colder. Shadows gathered along the edges of the plaza, moving unnaturally. Aaron, she whispered. Something's here. The shadows thickened, merging into a single form, a tall, shapeless figure with eyes like dim embers. Its voice was like a whisper through broken glass. Dreamers, it hissed. You should not have come. Aaron stumbled back. What is that? Mira's voice trembled. A shadowborn. A creature made from the world's forgotten dreams. When people stopped believing, their dreams turned into fear, and this is what fear became. The shadow moved closer, its form rippling. You wake what should remain asleep. Mira clutched the shard, feeling its warmth fade as the creature approached. It's feeding on despair, she realized. The more afraid we are, the stronger it becomes. Aaron took a step forward, his jaw set. Then we can't let it win. He closed his eyes, focusing hard. Mira, if dreams can bring light, then maybe we can fight it with them. Mira looked at him, startled. You mean? Yes, he said. Dream of hope. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes. The darkness pressed around her, whispering lies, that she was weak, that the world was broken beyond repair. But she pushed back with thoughts of her mother's laughter, of Aaron's courage, of the faint heartbeat she'd felt in the shard. Slowly, the shard began to glow again, brighter and brighter. The Shadowborn hissed, recoiling. No light, no dreams. But the light grew stronger, bursting outward in a wave that swept through the plaza. The stone figures shimmered, their faces softening as cracks of light spread across them. The creature shrieked, its form unraveling into thin mist before vanishing completely. When the light faded, silence returned. Mira fell to her knees, breathing heavily. "It's gone." Aaron crouched beside her. "You did it." "No," she said weakly. "We did." They sat in the middle of the ruined plaza, the shard glowing softly between them. Around them, the air felt warmer, gentler. One of the stone figures, a woman, had begun to crumble into dust, leaving behind a faint smile on her face. Aaron looked at her and whispered, "Maybe she was freed." Mira nodded. Maybe the light reminded her how to dream again. Aaron leaned back, gazing up at the sky. So the shadows, they're not just enemies. They're what's left of lost dreams. Maybe the world isn't fighting us, it's asking us to heal it. Mira smiled faintly. Then we'll heal it, one shard at a time. As evening fell, they found shelter in a half-collapsed tower. Mira unrolled her mother's old book and began to write in its empty pages, notes about the forest of mirrors, the shard, and the Shadowborn. Aaron watched her. "You write like someone preparing for others to follow." "Maybe I am," she said softly. "If we fail, someone else might find this." Aaron hesitated, then asked, "Do you ever wonder what will happen when all the shards are found?" Mira looked up, her eyes thoughtful. "If the heart returns, maybe the world will breathe again. But maybe it'll ask us something in return." "Like what?" She closed the book gently. "To give up the dream." That night, they both dreamed. Aaron saw his sister standing in a field of light, her voice echoing softly. "Keep dreaming, Aaron. Don't stop." Mira dreamed of her mother, smiling gently. "When magic died, the world didn't end," she said. "It just began to dream of something greater." When they woke, dawn had already painted the horizon in soft pink hues. Aaron stood and shouldered his pack. Where to next? Mira looked toward the east, where the mountains glowed faintly in the distance. "The Dream Spire," she said. "That's where the second shard waits." Aaron grinned. "Then let's wake another piece of the world." And as they began their journey once more, the wind carried something new, faint, like a melody returning after years of silence. It was the sound of the world beginning to dream again. The path to the Dream Spire was unlike anything Mira and Aaron had seen before. The closer they came to the mountains, the stranger the world became. The grass shimmered faintly beneath their feet, as if remembering the color green. The sky rippled between gold and blue, like it couldn't decide whether to be day or night. Even the air carried a hum, low and steady, like a sleeping heart beginning to stir. Aaron looked up at the jagged silhouette of the Dream Spire that rose ahead, a needle of white stone piercing the clouds. "It looks endless," he murmured. "It was built by dreamweavers," Mira said softly. Before the silence, they used to climb it to speak with the stars. Some said it was the only place where dreams and reality truly met. Aaron adjusted his pack. "Then maybe that's where we'll find our next shard." Mira nodded, but something in her chest felt uneasy. Each step they took closer to the mountain, the shard in her pocket pulsed more rapidly, almost as if it were warning her. They reached the foot of the mountain by sunset. The base of the Dream Spire was carved into ancient stone steps, half buried under centuries of dust. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the path, the same dream sigils Mira's mother had once drawn. Aaron traced them with his fingers. "They're warm," he said softly, "like they're alive." "They're memories," Mira replied. "Every dreamweaver who ever climbed this mountain left a piece of their heart behind. These sigils are their dreams." They began to climb. The first few hours were quiet. Only the wind whispered between the rocks. But as the sky darkened, the air grew heavy with a strange stillness. Shadows stretched unnaturally long, and the world below began to blur, fading as if they were stepping out of reality itself. "Mira," Elaren said cautiously. "Are we still here?" She glanced around. The stars above shimmered like living eyes, watching them. "The Dream Spire isn't a place," she whispered. "It's a passage between what is real and what is remembered." Elaren frowned. "So, where are we now?" Mira's eyes softened. "In the world's dream." As they climbed higher, the mountain began to change. The stone steps turned to glass, reflecting images that weren't their own. Mira saw visions flickering beneath her feet, moments from her past, her mother's laughter, her father's voice, the day the lake dried. Elaren saw his sister, smiling, reaching out to him, but when he tried to touch the image, it shattered like glass. "It's trying to test us," Mira said. "The spire shows what we most long for, or what we most fear." Elren's voice shook. "Then it's cruel." "It's honest," she replied. "Dreams always are." Hours passed. The higher they climbed, the colder it became. The stars drew closer until they felt almost within reach. Mira could feel the shard pulsing harder, its light bleeding through her cloak. "Something's up there," she said. "I can feel it." At last, they reached a wide ledge where the air shimmered like heat. In the center stood a circular altar made of white stone. Floating above it was another shard, glowing with a pale, silvery light. Elaren stepped forward, but Mira held out her hand.
"Wait."
"Something's wrong." Before he could reply, a gust of wind swept across the platform, and the light around the shard twisted, forming a human shape. A man stood before them, cloaked in silver light, his face hidden. "Dreamers," he said in a voice that echoed with both sorrow and strength. "Why do you seek the heart?" Mira's voice trembled. "Because the world is dying. Without magic, people have forgotten how to hope." The man tilted his head. "And you believe returning the heart will save them?" "Yes," Elaren said firmly. "It will bring life back." The figure was silent for a long moment, then spoke softly. "The heart did not die because it was broken. It died because humanity stopped dreaming together. Each person began dreaming only for themselves." Mira stepped closer. "Then how do we fix it?" The man raised his gaze, and the light around him pulsed. "To restore the heart, one must understand its truth. It was never a thing of power, but of unity. Every shard is not just a piece of magic. It is a piece of someone's soul." Elaren frowned. "Someone's soul?" "Yes," said the man. "And one of those souls belongs to you." Elaren froze. "What?" The air around them shimmered, and visions began to swirl. Flashes of a young boy lying beside a glowing lake, his sister singing softly, the water pulsing with light. Mira gasped. That lake, the lake of Dreamlight. It was the resting place of the heart before it shattered. The vision shifted. A young Elaren reached into the glowing water, touching something bright, and in that instant, the heart cracked. Elaren staggered back, eyes wide with disbelief. "No, that can't be me." The silver figure's voice was calm, but filled with sorrow. "You were chosen long ago to be the keeper of the heart spark. When fear entered your dream, the heart split to protect itself, scattering its pieces across the world." Mira looked at Elaren, her heart pounding. "You didn't destroy it, you saved it." But Elaren shook his head, tears in his eyes. "Then all this, the silence, it happened because of me." The figure stepped closer. "It happened through you, not from you. The world's dreams were already fading. You were merely the one who bore their weight." He turned to Mira. "Child of Dreamlight, you carry the memory of what was lost." And he, the figure gestured to Elaren, carries the spark of what remains. Together, you must not rebuild magic, but rekindle the world's dream. With that, the figure faded, leaving only the glowing shard hovering above the altar. Mira looked at Elaren, who stood trembling. "You didn't know," she said softly. Elren's voice broke. "But I should have. My sister, she always said I was part of something bigger, that I dreamed too deeply. Maybe she knew." Mira stepped closer and placed her hand on his shoulder. You didn't end the world, Elaren. You just gave it a chance to begin again. He looked into her eyes, searching for doubt, but found none. Slowly, he nodded. Together, they reached for the shard. When their hands touched it, a surge of light burst outward, wrapping around them both. The mountain shook, and the stars above blazed brighter. Mira saw flashes of faces, children laughing, people holding hands, the world as it once was. And beneath it all, the faint rhythm of a heartbeat, stronger now. When the light faded, the shard floated between them, brighter than before. 2 shards now pulsed in unison. Elaren wiped his eyes. That's 2. 5 left. Mira smiled faintly, and one truth uncovered. They sat for a while in silence, watching the sunrise spread over the mountains. Finally, Elaren whispered, Mira, if the heart is made of people's dreams, what happens when we gather them all? She looked out at the horizon. Then the world will have to decide if it's ready to dream together again. As they began their descent, the wind carried the faint sound of laughter, soft, distant, like a memory being reborn. And for the first time since the silence, a small flower bloomed at the mountain's edge. Its petals shimmered like starlight. The world was healing. Days turned into weeks as Mira and Elaren traveled beyond the dream spire, following the faint hum of the heart that echoed deep within their souls. The world around them was changing. Where once the land was gray and lifeless, patches of green began to appear. Rivers that had long been dry started to glisten again. People they met in forgotten villages had begun to dream once more. Children whispered of visions, colors, songs, and shapes that didn't exist, and though they didn't understand it, their laughter filled the air like a forgotten melody. The world was waking up. But with every step they took toward the final shard, Mira could feel the growing weight inside her chest. The shards pulsed brighter, their rhythm merging with her own heartbeat and Aaron's. It was as if the heart was calling them home. One evening, as they rested beside a campfire under a sky full of flickering stars, Elaren spoke quietly. Mira, he said, staring into the flames, when we find the last shard, do you think things will go back to the way they were? She was silent for a long time before answering.
No.
They can't. The world has changed too much. We've changed. He looked up at her. Then what will happen? She smiled faintly. Maybe the world won't need magic anymore. Maybe dreams will be enough. Elaren nodded slowly. Maybe that's what it means. When magic died, the world learned to dream again. Her eyes softened. Maybe that's the lesson the heart wanted us to learn all along. The final shard lay beyond the sea of stillness, a place where time itself had stopped the day the silence began. No wind stirred, no waves moved, and the sky above it was frozen in eternal twilight. They reached the shore after many days of travel. The water stretched endlessly, smooth as glass, reflecting the stars above. It was breathtaking and haunting all at once. This sea, Mira whispered. It's where the first dream ever touched the world. My mother used to tell me stories that the gods wept their dreams here, and from those tears, magic was born. Elaren looked out over the unmoving water. Then maybe this is where it also ended. They stepped onto a narrow path of glowing stones that led out into the sea. Each step echoed softly, as though they were walking through the sky itself. The air shimmered with strange light, and the world around them began to fade. At last, they reached a small island of crystal sand. Floating above it was the final shard, larger than the rest, burning with a deep, golden light. Mira's breath caught. It's beautiful. But as they approached, the air trembled, and the light from the shard grew dark. A voice rose from the sea, low and sorrowful. You seek to awaken what was meant to rest, it said. A figure rose from the still waters, a towering shadow made of broken light. It had no face, only shifting fragments of what once was memories, hopes, fears. Elaren stepped back. What are you? The voice answered, echoing through the air. I am the silence, the last dream that chose to end. When the heart broke, I remained behind to protect the world from itself. Mira's hand tightened around the other shards. You're the reason the world stopped dreaming. The silence seemed to shudder, its voice softening. I am the reason it survived. When humans began to twist dreams into greed, magic turned against them. I silenced the world, so it would not destroy itself. Elaren stepped forward, anger in his voice. You call that survival? You took away everything. Hope, wonder, life. The silence turned its faceless gaze toward him. And what will you do when it all returns? When dreams once again become power, will you not repeat the same mistakes? Elaren faltered, unable to speak. Mira took a step forward. Maybe we will. Maybe the world will stumble, fall, and break again. But at least we'll be alive to dream. You can't protect the world by taking away what makes it human. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, softly, the shadow's voice whispered, "And if you are wrong?" Mira lifted her hand, revealing the shards glowing in her palm. Then let the world dream its own ending. The shards began to rise into the air, spinning around her in circles of light. The final shard pulsed brighter, as though responding to their unity. Elaren stepped beside her, his eyes filled with determination. The silence roared, its form breaking apart. You would awaken pain, sorrow, loss. Elaren shouted back, we would awaken life. The shards collided with a blinding flash, merging into a single, radiant core of light. The ground shook. The still sea rippled for the first time in centuries, waves crashing outward in brilliant cascades of color. Mira felt the warmth spread through her, through every corner of the world. She saw visions, mountains blooming with life, rivers singing, people laughing as dreams returned to them. The light filled everything. But then she heard a voice, the same voice from the dream spire. Mira, Elaren, the heart is whole again. But it cannot remain without balance. Magic and dreams cannot coexist unless one of you becomes its keeper. Elaren looked at her, eyes wide. What does that mean? She knew. She could feel it, the choice written in the heartbeat of the world. One of us must stay, she whispered, to guard the heart, to become its dream. Elaren shook his head.
No.
You can't. You're the last dreamkeeper. The world needs you. She smiled sadly. And it needs you too. You're the one who carries the spark. Without you, the heart would never have been found. The voice spoke again, softer this time. Only one dream may live within the heart. The other must remain behind, to watch over it until the world no longer needs dreams to guide it. Elaren stepped forward, his voice steady. Then it should be me. Mira's eyes widened. No. He smiled faintly. You said it yourself. I was the one who broke it. Maybe this is how I make it right. Tears welled in her eyes. Elaren. He reached out and took her hand, pressing the glowing heart between them. Keep dreaming for both of us. Before she could answer, the heart pulsed once more, brighter than the sun. The sea exploded in light. Mira fell to her knees as the air filled with warmth, music, and color. When she opened her eyes, the world had changed. The sea now shimmered with waves of gold. The stars moved again, twinkling in their endless dance. In the distance, lands once dead now bloomed with forests, rivers, and life. The heart floated above the sea, shining brightly, and within its glow, Mira could see a familiar silhouette. Elaren smiled at her from within the light. Dream, Mira. Don't stop. And then he was gone. Years passed. The world began to heal. Children dreamed again, not of power or riches, but of laughter, kindness, and skies full of wonder. Villages grew, songs returned, and the name of Elaren the Dreamer became a legend whispered under the stars. Mira lived among them, guarding the new world quietly. She no longer sought magic because she understood now. Magic had never died. It had simply become the dreams that lived inside every heart. The waves shimmered in reply, like laughter carried from another world. And far above, the stars pulsed gently, as if the heart of the world was still dreaming, too.